Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to another segment of Coach Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. Our recitation, stanzas 27 through 29 from Rag Asa Mahalla Patee Likhi, writing of the slate. And the first letter will be Baba, the recitation. Bhabhai Bhalah se Phal Pavah, Gur Prasadi jinko pau paya. Manmukh phire na chete mude, lakh 84 phir paya. Mammah moh maran madhusudan, maran bhaya tab chet vaya. Kaya pitar avro padya, mamma akhar visarya. यही है जन्म न होवी कदही, जेकर सच पछाणै. गुरमुख आखे गुरमुख बूझै, गुरमुख एको जाणै. So we begin the 27th stanza with the letter Baba. The derivative from Baba being the word Paleh, which is to look for, to search. So Bhabhai Bhalah se Phal Pavah. In other words, they who look, they find. Gur Prasadi jinko pau paya. Here's the qualifier. Gur Prasadi. Through the grace of Guru wisdom, they who cultivate a sense of reverence and an affinity with the self, jinko pao paya, pao is love. You have to cultivate this love. Se Phal Pavah, they realize the fruit. On the other hand, the manmukh, the self-willed. Now this one, Pale se Phal Pavah, speaks about the gurmukh, those who seek, find. The manmukh, on the other hand, self-willed, willing blindness, willful blindness, they remain caught in the repetitive cycle of ego conditioning. Lakh 84 phir paya. And they wander through life aimlessly in a state of forgetful stupor. Manmukh phire na chete mude. Mude is willful blindness. Lakh 84 phir paya. And so there is this constant repetition of the ego consciousness. It's conditioned consciousness. So while the Gur-guided Gurmukh breaks the cycle of conditioned egoic thought by seeking the insight of Guru wisdom, the self-willed Manmukh does not achieve this breakthrough. It remains trapped in the delusion of attachment to the sensory world. Now, that is the two modes of existence that Gurbani describes. We can exist as a manmukh, which we all are, or we can foster a state of mind called gurmukh, which is guided by the Guru, wisdom. So you look at life very differently. The second alphabet that we are reciting is Mama. So from Mama is derived the word moh, which has a lot of connotations. It means fascination, infatuation, bewitchment, whether it is with objects, love, sympathy, feelings, allurement, a lot of these connotations. But for our purposes, it is the delusion that the ego consciousness lives in. It is constantly fostering attachment with objects and things. So from the letter Mamma. Mamme moho maran Madhusudan. Madhusudan is a name for the self. Attachment or infatuation, the Guru says, is Maya, because ego is Maya. Moho maran. Attachment implies the death of the self because you're forgetful. You're in a stupor, if you remember. Marana bhaya tab chetvaya. So when awareness of impending death comes about you, it is only then that the manmukh seeks realization, that it remembers the self out of fear. So they're talking about fear of death here. So while alive, the manmukh has allowed the senses to invade the body-mind. Kaya bhitar avro padaya, avro other. And the infallible one, Amma akhar visraya, that receded from one's awareness. That's what happens when you're living in the mode of being a manmukh. You lose awareness of the self. This is body identification. And then the letter yaya, yaya. Yaya janam na hovi kadhi je kar sach pachhane. By following Guru wisdom, the truth of the self is recognized. Then the ego does not arise again. So seek Guru wisdom. Gurmukh aakhe, Gurmukh booja, Gurmukh eko jane. Seek Guru wisdom. Be guided by its instruction, Gurmukh aakhe. And through Guru wisdom, discern the oneness, the unity of all creation. Meaning where these opposite tendencies are also held together. And by following Guru wisdom, you will recognize reality for what it is, and the ego will not arise again. You will not act out of the ego consciousness. Now, Janamana hovi kadhi, if understood literally, would read, birth will not happen again. And in the 27th stanza that we read, mention is made of Lakh Chaurasi, Phal Pavah, the 8.4 million forms of life. So the traditional view has been to refer to this cycle of birth and death as avagavan. This view is being challenged now with the assertion that Gurbani is essentially concerned with life in the here and the now, not with metaphysical speculations, and therefore Janam Maran must relate to the fragmentation and the individuating impulse of the ego. It's the ego that is constantly repeating itself, conditioned by the senses. Now, I would say that readers can draw their own conclusion. This translator, this podcaster who's speaking to you, would suggest, one, that our knowledge is not infallible. We are prone to error, nor is it complete. So it is only fitting that we should admit that there are subjects which don't lend themselves to definite answers. Even the gurus have said ultimately that you are unknowable, addressing the Creator. So it is far more mature, I think, to concede the limits of our knowledge than to take extreme or rigid positions, either way. In my thought, there may be an element of truth in both views. Who knows? Because Janam is used for Janam Padarat, the goal. Janam na hovi kadhi would contradict that. So it means that the word Janam has been used in different ways, as a lot of other words have, and we should not affix one value to Janam. we should look at the context. Here in these passages, the context is the mode of existence of a manmukh, so therefore relates to the mind rather than any metaphysical conceptualization of life and death. On that note, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.